many times have you stared at a blank screen, cursor blinking, unable to start your essay? Well, let's face it, crafting an engaging introduction is one of the hardest skills to learn in high school English. And the challenges of introduction seem overwhelming. Pressure to make it perfect, what does the teacher want to see, feeling like there's too many choices, and how do I grab the reader's attention? That's a lot. And as a high school English teacher of 15 years, in this video, I'm going to give you 5 techniques that will make your intros killer. And stick around to the end where I'll show you how to put all this stuff together. Let's solve that first problem. Your intro doesn't have to be perfect. Basically, it just has to be good enough to capture the reader's attention. So stop aiming at perfection and start thinking, well, this is good enough to hook my reader, and that's all you need. And solving the second problem is just as easy. Oftentimes, teachers don't even know what they want to see. I can't tell you how many times I've read an essay and been like, wow, that was a good intro. Wasn't expecting that. So stop worrying about what you think the teacher wants. That's a surefire way to not write well. Third, if you're worried about too many choices, you really have to stop paralysis analysis. Learn about 4 or 5 good techniques, which hint, I'll teach you in this video. Work on those, modify them, and I guarantee you can fit those 4 or 5 techniques into any essay you write. Which now that leaves us with the 4th problem. You don't know how to grab the reader's attention, and that's what we're going to solve in this video. There are probably hundreds of ways to start an essay, and of those hundreds, a few have stood the test of time. Knowing these 5 techniques will help you grab the reader's attention for every high school essay you write in English class.
The first technique to use is to simply tell a story because it builds an emotional connection with the reader. Stories are amazing for personal essays, narrative-based assignments, or if you really want to get in the perspective of one individual rather than talking about topics in general.
Now let's hear that story technique in action. In the quiet halls of a once great corporation, a CEO's family photo lay face down on a cluttered desk. Just yesterday, his name had graced the headlines of business magazines. Today, it was splashed across tabloids in a tale of corruption and hubris. This scene of a mighty figure's fall from grace is a timeless narrative, one that has captivated audiences for centuries. In William Shakespeare's tragedy Macbeth, we witness a similar descent as the titular character's ambition leads him down a path of destruction. Now that's a pretty solid intro. With the story, you can really imagine in vivid detail the photo that's face down, the character's fall from grace, the lonely office. And that's what story gives you, the ability to make you feel that personal connection.
Secondly, throw in a thought-provoking quote. The reason is it lends authority to what you're writing. So many people have amazing quotes that can give you a lot of perspective within your writing and capture really complex ideas. These are great really for academic essays in literature, philosophy, and social sciences because you're often going to use established thinkers or credible people in your field in order to make your point.
Our second example of a quote might start something like this. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, wrote historian Lord Acton, encapsulating the truth that has played out countless times throughout history. From political leaders to business tycoons, the allure of power has led many to compromise their values and ultimately face their downfall. This universal theme finds one of its most compelling expressions in literature through William Shakespeare's tragic hero, Macbeth. Now you can really hear with that quote the idea that this theme of power's downfall resonates through the centuries. Putting any quote from any political leader or powerful figure of the past gives a bit of authority and gravitas to what you are ultimately writing about. So that's why you might want to use a quote technique the next time you have to introduce an essay.
The third technique is to ask a compelling question because it really creates curiosity by engaging the mind and brings the reader into that thinking process. For example, if you have an argumentative essay or an exploratory piece, or any time you really want the reader to think critically, asking a question like, what would you do if, could you imagine, what if, are great ways to hook a reader.
If we start our next introduction with a question, it might sound something like this. What drives a person to sacrifice everything they hold dear in pursuit of power? How does a once noble individual transform into a tyrant, feared and reviled by all? At what point does ambition cross the line from a virtue to a fatal flaw? These questions lie at the heart of many tragic tales, both real and fictional, but perhaps nowhere are they explored more profoundly than in Shakespeare's timeless play, Macbeth. Now that's a great intro. The rhetorical question after rhetorical question after rhetorical question makes the reader think. Yeah, how does this happen? And by getting the reader to think, you also get them engaged.
Fourth, Try to show different perspectives because it really shows issues as complex because you're bringing in multiple viewpoints. Use these in argumentative essays or debates where you have to look at both sides of the issue.
If we want to write an intro that has perspectives, it might sound something like this. To some, the fall of a powerful figure represents justice served, a cautionary tale of hubris punished. To others, it's a tragedy, a lamentable waste of potential, and a stark reminder of human frailty. These contrasting viewpoints often color our perception of historic and fictional downfalls, inviting us to grapple with complex questions of morality and fate. In William Shakespeare's Macbeth, we are presented with a protagonist whose dramatic fall from grace embodies this duality, challenging our notions of villainy and victimhood. That's a pretty cool intro, because on the one hand, is Macbeth a victim? Or is he really the villain of the play? And bringing those two perspectives together will do a great job in engaging your readers as they think, which side are they really on?
Lastly, you could also throw in a surprising fact because it captures attention with novelty. It's something intriguing and might even challenge someone's preconceptions. These are really great for informative essays, scientific papers, or if you have a topic that seems initially dry or uninteresting, a surprising fact can really hook the reader.
Lastly, let's see what it would sound like if we added a surprising fact to our repertoire of killer intros. In a shocking study, researchers found that 70% of CEOs exhibit narcissistic traits, a characteristic often linked to ethical failures and dramatic falls from power. This surprising statistic sheds light on the psychology behind many high-profile downfalls in the business world, echoing a pattern that has fascinated humanity for centuries. One of the most enduring explorations of this phenomenon can be found in literature, specifically in William Shakespeare's tragedy, Macbeth, where we witness the spectacular downfall of a man consumed by ambition. Now, that surprising fact is really unique and interesting because it links what seems to be an old tale to modern-day CEOs, showing the same traits that Macbeth had that led to his downfall. If you found some value in this video, please consider subscribing to the channel down below. It would be the highlight of my teaching career. Thanks, and let's keep going here. Here's how you put this all into practice. What you're going to do is, instead of trying to write one perfect intro, which takes you hours, remember, there's no perfect intro, it has to just be good enough, you're going to write 5 different intros, one for each of the examples that I gave within this video. The reason you're going to do this is it's going to give you options, and you're going to ultimately be able to choose the best one. And that's it. That's all you have to do. By trial and error, you are going to find the best possible intro for your essay. And as you gain confidence in writing, you're going to realize that there's no one best way to start an intro. There's dozens of ways, but if you can master these 5, I guarantee you, you have a start for every essay for the remainder of high school English. Now that you've gone through and realized how you hook the reader, you're only halfway there. You have to get to the second half of your intro, which is about the thesis statement. And if you have some questions about thesis statements, check out this playlist over here where I cover how to write the multitude of different thesis statements that you'll see in English class. Take care, I'll see you in the next one.